Today we're getting to know bass legend, beat breaker, and weaver of chaos, Amseth. Amseth, if you could DJ back to back with anyone, who would you choose?
Oh, that's a hard question. Because I want to say like my favorite producer, but then I'll probably get rinsed, so I don't know if that's a good idea. I would say, so there's this friend of mine, her name is Debbie. She goes by DJ Dakota, and she's been ripping it for like a whole year now. So I would go back to back with her, South African, Capetonian.
And what makes her such like a good partner to do that with?
I feel like she's really understood it. I feel like if you'd ask me to like teach someone how to DJ, I wouldn't know where to begin, to be honest, because the technical is easy to learn, but the taste and what songs to bring, where I feel like that comes with experience. And I feel like, yeah, she's just on another level now. And I feel like we're on like a similar level in that way, where it's like we would just feed off each other and just pop off.
So it's not necessarily about picking favorites, but more about making a good pair happen.
Yeah, exactly. For the people, you know?
Yeah. Is there any song that seems to be a go-to crowd pleaser for you that you can just whip out at any moment and you know it's going to do well?
So I mean, I have my favorites. I play a lot of like, well, for example, there's a song called Bubble by these two guys, this guy from Germany called Face, and then another guy from Austria called Mephius. And yeah, there's a part in there in the song, like the switch up, like just after the break where it goes crazy. And I feel like that's a crowd destroyer. So, but I feel like a lot of people who listen to drum and bass know that song because it's quite popular, but you can't go wrong dropping that song, I feel like.
Pretty much in a similar, vein to what Meeks was asking. I like to know what makes a good DJ overall, because you get different answers for this. I remember Chachi Africa, she does more like Afrotech, and according to her, it was basically just the vibe that you're able to emit as a DJ, and how you're able to just how the crowd basically responds to that vibe and such. So to Amseth, would you say it's more or less the same, or would you say maybe like what exactly makes a good DJ according to Amseth?
For me, I want seamless transitions, because I find that you get like two types of DJs where one DJ will mix seamlessly and the other one will just train wreck. And it's fine because, even if you're train wrecking, you can still have a good time with the people. But for me personally, I want to like perfect transitions, because I feel like when you have perfect transitions, you can create this vibe that then you can get immersed in, as if you're watching a series, for example. And when it's so good, you get immersed in it. You don't even, you're watching a series, but you feel like you're there, and I think having like really good, mixing from one song to another, like really cleanly, can help with that illusion. And that's really nice. For me, because I listen to like a lot of different music, just like I feel like a lot of people do. So it's all about energy for me. I like DJs who can find the right energy and then just kind of maintain it and then do what they want to with it. I feel like usually when someone is DJing and they play a song that is not necessarily the right energy, it can be really difficult to get the people to start, having a good time, like on the dance floor. So finding that good energy is difficult, or it can be, but then also where you go from there can be another art too. And so I like DJs who can control that energy very strategically. They you often hear people say, a set was a journey. And I feel like a good journey is a set that has a nice flow of energy, whether it be nice and chill for like the beginning, and then moving up in pace a little bit more, and then at the peak, like going full tilt. And yeah, so I also I enjoy stuff like that.
Being able to transition so well and have your entire set be like a journey, I don't suppose it's something that you just wake up one day and know how to do. Is this something that you basically learn over time, or would you say that actually you can just literally, as a newbie, just jump in there and give the people, the perfect transitions and make it a journey, as you say?
So with the transitions, that takes practice, because that's basically your technical side. That's, making sure that your songs are playing at the right speed. And then that's also when you press play. So when you choose to bring the song in can be conducive to kind of masking the other songs. So when it comes in, it's just like seamless. So, that you can learn, and that does take experience. And then with the journey perspective, I think that's a lot harder. Obviously, there's like a million ways to do it, but there's two ways I know. one way is you're a complete newbie and you're trying it out for the first time, and you're vibing, you're having a good time, and you know your songs really well, and you just choose them on the fly, and you have an amazing set, and everyone has a good time. So that is definitely possible. I don't know how reliable that is though, because say you're not in a good vibe, and you've got to put a vibe on. That can then be quite difficult. So it could then be a hit and a miss kind of situation, which I'm not a fan of. I think if you're doing it professionally. So then there's the other way where there was this scientists that created this thing called the circle of fifths. A lot of musicians know it in like music theory, but this was more for a DJ perspective. And you can design a vibe in that using musical keys to control your energy and then go from there. So it just depends how you want to do it. I think these days there's a lot of control that you can exercise in the execution that can help you achieve what you're trying to achieve, or you can just freestyle it. It's completely up to you. I prefer to put a little bit of prep work in there because I want it to be good for the people. I want to make sure that I'm giving a good performance and not something that is, maybe lackluster because I'm not feeling great that day for whatever reason. So yeah, it just depends how prepared you want to be.
When you say you put preparation into it, is that I'm curious about how much of it comes out as improv? Because if you have a planned set and then you realize that people actually aren't vibing to something, or maybe you read it wrong, is there space for you to switch it up? Like, do you have your backups or stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's good to know like what time slot you're playing. I think it's a bit easier for me because I've been doing this for like a long time, and I play drum and bass, and so I know the way that things are structured in terms of when people get booked where, or in terms of the time slots. But I have had a situation where I played a planned set and then I ran out of music in the planned set, and then I was forced to improvise because there's no other option, and that went harder than the improvised set. So I think these days it's not a train smash. Like, if you go there and you start playing your prepared set and it's not the vibe, then you can set up your playlists in a way that you can then go full improvisation and still have a good time. I think that would then just depend on, your skill and your skill at DJing and reading the crowd and reading the energy, because I've had experiences where I've gotten it like perfect, and I've had experiences where I've gotten it horribly wrong, where like you play a song and you don't even get a reaction at all because it was just maybe wrong energy, wrong tempo, whatever. I remember playing at this place called the Living Room one time in Johannesburg. It was a Sunday, like in the afternoon vibes. And when I got there, the DJ that was supposed to play after me, she played before me. And so she basically switched up slots, and I prepared for my slot because I had like an earlier time from like 4 to 5 or something. And so because I played later now on the day, my set, like the manager kept coming up to me and being like, "Bro, could you please play harder stuff?" And I was like, yeah, it's coming. I kept telling him, yeah, it's coming. And I didn't really, but I was in trouble there because I had this whole prepared set that now was, I didn't have the time to slot for. So I would recommend, as I said, you can set up your playlists in a way that if you need to, you can.
Is that like a common thing where you get, maybe venue owners or someone who's in management or whatever, an establishment you might be playing at, breathing down your neck on some, yo, dude, turn it up a bit? Or was that like a one-off thing? And if it is something that, tends to happen, how do you sort of deal with it?
For me, it was a one-off thing, luckily, but I'm sure it can happen. It's just the luck of the draw at that point and where you're playing. I think the event itself was a more kind of public event in a sense of, you had a job to create a vibe, not, these people came to see you play kind of thing. Yeah, but I mean, to answer your question, yeah, for me, it was a once-off thing and it was quite stressful. Well, I didn't actually care at the time because I was having a good time. But so what he basically meant was that I had to play, more energetic music or like house music or something with a bit more energy. And so I did have the music and I could have, but I was on another vibe and I didn't really want to. But if you are in that situation, you then can make the decision because you can either listen to what they're saying and which would be a good idea because they're hiring you for that kind of situation, because that could mean that they could come back to you and say, hey, we want you to play again because you played so well or whatever. Then it would be a good idea to listen, and you'd need to have prepared for that before you got there in terms of having different kind of music on your USBs in terms of the energy levels. But for me, in that particular situation, I didn't actually listen. I played other stuff, and then I didn't play there again. So, you decide what you want to do with it. But as advice, I'd say, like, if you're getting booked and you really want to play at a party, and then respect. There's a decorum. There's a courtesy that I think is a good idea to uphold, just so that you can get booked again or something, if that's what you want.
That was a very interesting point, man. Thank you for answering that. I hijacked Meegs there. I'm so sorry, Meegs.
All good, fam. So what's your favorite time slot to play? Do you have a perfect one that just your music absolutely suits?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of like 2 slots at the moment, I feel like, because I'm now starting to play more of my own music because I finally have enough music to play. So I would say my perfect time slot is either like headline or just like the slot before headline. And it's funny to say that because I feel like every DJ that starts, wants to play headline, because that's like when the crowd are ready to go, and it's everyone's there and whatever, just like the perfect time. But I'm saying this because of energy, like in terms of the stuff that I play. I'm trying, like with my sound, because I'm making drum and bass at the moment. My sound now, I'm trying to do a hybrid of 2 different subgenres in drum and bass. And the one subgenre known as like the rolling subgenre, or we call it rollers, that's usually, it's not particularly a peak time style of music because it's not as exciting as stuff like Neuro, for example, which is the other stuff that I play. Because that stuff, is more geared towards peak time in terms of the energy and the sounds and stuff like this, the sonics and stuff like that. So yeah, I think between peak time and just one before. So I can either take it to, the person who's going to like rinse us all, or, I can build a nice vibe in my set where like by the middle of my set, it's just, we're going crazy, like, like just full tilt on like the best songs or the peak time songs, most high energy songs. So yeah.
When it comes to that sense of a seamless transition, is that something that you carry into your own production? Because to me, you have such an incredible sense for tension and release. The way you play with it, the way you sometimes extend the drop, and then the way you like do this ambient, very like atmospheric synthy outro all of a sudden. It's amazing. Where does that come from?
Oh, I'm so glad that you actually appreciate that, because, there was an idea behind that. I like to keep things as clean as possible. And it's actually quite a crazy line that you walk on, because when you start out, at least when I started out, and you don't know much, a lot of the stuff you make is like very dirty and like very like not clean, or not, the transitions aren't as great and things just don't sound that great. And then like for me, I was like, okay, I want to get really good at like mix downs and sound design and stuff like that, so that I could make the sounds cleaner and all that kind of stuff. But then you get to the line where it's like, there's literally a point where if you make something too clean, it starts to sound clinical. And it kind of becomes like void of any human kind of feeling or vibe in a way. So that was the kind of point for me with those outros and stuff, was to kind of bring something more musical and more dirty and rough on purpose, after having a song that was primarily clean in a sense of the sound design and the levels and whatever. So I appreciate both, and I'm now trying to find a happy medium in terms of having stuff that is not clean, but it has soul, and then like really clean because it's purposeful, and kind of going between those. The motivation for the stuff that you were talking about, like the outros and stuff, the lo-fi stuff, I come from a beat kind of, let's say like Timberland, and then after Timberland, I was listening to a lot of trap stuff, like Bauer and Oral Grime. And so I really enjoyed hip hop and that kind of lo-fi beats vibe. So yeah, the idea was to kind of show my roots by putting these kind of juxtapositions next to each other, because they tell a whole story there. Because now suddenly you have a song that's like really hard and club like vibes into an outro that's more musical and more vibey, and so you have 2 in 1. You have hard and chill. And I thought it would be nice to do something like that. In terms of the transitions and stuff, I just feel that stuff, to be honest. That's the one thing I like about music, and it's something that I can say music has taught me a lot. Like, I'm sure a lot of musicians say this, but like I remember being a bedroom producer. You make these beats, or when I started at least, you'd make these beats late at night, say 12 in the morning, and you've worked till 5 a.m. and it sounds amazing. and then you go to bed, and then you wake up and go do a car test just because you want to listen to your song on another system or rig. And then the car test would sound horrible. It would sound, and then you'd think to yourself, what was I thinking? And it would be so demoralizing. It almost feels like getting rejected by like a girl that you walked up, like a crush or something. And it would happen all the time. And I wanted to bridge this gap between, what is reality and what is like my perception of reality? Because when I'm in the room at 5 a.m., my perception of reality is that this song is absolutely like a banger. This is going to go off in the club. And then I listen to it in the car. It's like the furthest thing from it. And so yeah, to answer your question, yes.
You mentioned you were dipping into rollers and neuro at the moment, but you've typically been quite genre fluid. So what would you experiment with if you could just do anything, like just for fun?
So I'm actually with a friend of mine now, and we're actually producing. And he said to me that he wanted to make a tech song, and I was like, I don't even know what that is, bro. I just nuts fall to the floor like house things. So yeah, I actually have a friend that's also like super multi-genre, and he makes really weird stuff. And that's where I am right now in terms of Amseth. I'm trying to actually make stuff that is different to what is the norm, to me at least, in terms of what I'm making. And I think I'm still kind of bound by genre in a way, because I still want to make my stuff club friendly, but I also want to like blur the lines. And something that I've been dabbling in recently is like classical music, but just the instrumentation of classical music, because of its feel and sound and timbre. I think it's also like a really nice juxtaposition to have sounds that are so organic and almost real in a way, with sounds that are completely electronic and synthesized. So I am making some house stuff now at the moment, not under my alias, just for fun with a friend. But in terms of what I'm actually doing, I'm still doing drum and bass, but I'm trying to find other influences to bring into drum and bass, like classical, or I definitely want to try like synth pop vibes, like the whole Stranger Things theme, like that kind of, synth wave vibes, and bring that into drum and bass somehow, just because I really enjoy drum and bass. So yeah, that's the kind of reason that I'm making drum and bass, to be honest, because like I was playing trap before. I was playing halftime, which came just after trap. I was playing dubstep. I was playing house. Like I actually started DJing house in like 2009, and eventually what happened was I just got like jaded by all of these genres, because I just kept on listening to them and trying to find the best songs to DJ. And so you just end up consuming so much music that I got jaded by it all, and I had to just move on to something that still satiated me. And then eventually I found drum and bass. And yeah, I do have a song that I'm working on at the moment that is like beats vibes, like hip hop vibes, but I'm kind of not trying to be too like thinky about it. Like I don't want. I'm not trying to like challenge myself in that way, because I feel like there's still a lot to do. So I'm challenging myself in the genre, but looking to other genres for inspiration.
There are a lot of misinformed people that are under this impression that being a DJ is as simple as just utilizing the crossfade the entire time and pressing one or two delay buttons and such. And obviously, it can't be that simple. So, for you, what would you say the most difficult element of DJing actually is? Like, for you specifically, what was it that when you jumped into DJing, you found that was probably the most difficult thing to sort of, get around or grow from?
So I started DJing when, we had computer software already. Like this was like a virtual DJ, Tractor, all that kind of stuff. So by that time, you had the sync button already. And before that, you really didn't, like if you played on CDJs or if you played on vinyl, you would have to sync manually. And I think as a DJ coming in, like starting out, it's one of the most difficult things to just get the songs at the right speed. Obviously now with the technology, it's super easy. And so other challenges have presented themselves. In a sense, like the barriers to entry have fallen. And so because of that, other hurdles are still there that are not as easily navigated with technology. And I think those are the hardest for me. Like what I find challenging from the start and now still is song selection, because like I use this, as I said, I use this thing called the circle of fifths, and it shows me my keys. And for example, say I'm playing a song in F minor. The idea is if I play another song in F minor, they should work because they're in key, but it's not always the case. And so what I often then do is I will have a song that I want to play, and then I will I will audition essentially like 10 to 15 other songs all in the same key just to see which one works, because that's, I don't know, either it's your taste in music that will help you with that, so you can like listen to a song and then you get an idea in your head about another song and you're like, oh, this will work well, and then you try it out and it works well, and you're lucky. Or you have a song that really works well and you can't think of a song, or you thought of a song and you try to play it and it didn't work well, and now you actually got to go and find a song that works well, and that can take quite a long time. So much so that you might not even find a song that works properly, then you might have to go like get some more songs and then see from there, kind of thing. So I think that's, for me, that's the most difficult song selection.
100%. And you mentioned as well earlier in your answer, when you're answering Meagan, that you're obviously experimenting with some tech, something that your homie brought up as well. And you did say that you're producing some hip hop as well under a different alias. Now, looking at that alias that we're basically focusing on right now, with you being Amseth, what's the story behind that there? Just, I feel like it's one of the best ways you can get to know someone. And that, Amseth, if you can give us some background on that there as a whole. Were you Amseth back in 2009 when you were doing house as well, or did it sort of change halfway?
So I started DJing when fidget was like a big thing, and that was like around 05 or 06 or 07. Sorry, I got into music. I only started DJing in 2009, but I started like getting into that kind of stuff that time. And there was this guy from Pretoria, his producer name was Schenk at the time. I don't think he's still running, but he made a song and he put the genre as Skank House. And I was like, oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. And I asked him, I was like, bro, can I use this name? And he was like, yeah, totally. And then I thought he thought it was a meme, but I was serious. And so I had this name Skank House that I DJ'd trap with back in like 2009, and then got to Varsity in 2013. And there was a guy that like kind of started managing me, and he was like, bro, we got to change your name because this is not like friendly to all crowds and stuff. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then I thought about it, and at the time I was playing this game online called League of Legends. And so I would play with this friend of mine, and I had this friend from Turkey who was living in Joburg, and his username, or his alias name for the game, was Amseth. Firstly, I asked him, bro, what does that mean? Because that sounds cool. And he was like, oh, it's another name for the Egyptian god of death, Anubis, like a Turkish name or something. I guess I just really liked it, and it was really interesting, and kind of later on it kind of took on full meaning, but at the time I just thought it was cool. And I said to him, I asked him, I was like, bro, can I use this name as my DJ name? And it's like, yeah, sure, totally. And it was actually really funny because after I started on the Amseth project, he was playing League of Legends some more, and then some dudes messaged him there asking him, hey, are you Amseth? Like, and then he was like, no, that's my mate. So that's how I got the name, and then I kind of just stuck with it from there. I've always been obsessed with like death, but like not in a negative way, like not in a like dark, morbid kind of way. More in a, I don't know, just like fascination, especially like with the Egyptian gods and stuff like that. And I'm like a huge Star Wars fan as well. So everything on the dark side is my vibe. So I felt like it just kind of fit with that brand that I'm trying to make. So the idea is that Amseth is this, master of death. I'm not going to be playing happy light music. I'm going to be playing really dark. Like if you went to go visit Hades, in hell, you'd go, that's the music they'll be playing there. So and the idea is, those kind of things are I would say they've been taboo like for like a very long time. Like with the way I grew up, like you couldn't really talk about things like death and sex and like all these taboo topics, especially like a religious household. And my whole idea is to kind of make it normal, like kind of in a sense of we're human and there are all these aspects that are true to us. And so why not embrace it rather than shun it? Let's come to terms with these things. Let's accept these things and live freely with these things rather than living in denial of them. And so I've just kind of taken on that persona as Amseth. And so the music, yes, it's dark. I also try and make it melancholic as much as I can, where I do do some like musical chords and stuff like that, because I usually don't. I go very hard now these days. And I guess that's the idea, like when you're in the club and you're getting blasted with sub bass, you can kind of lose yourself in that. You can lose your sense of self in a way, but it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's a thing of, I mean, not that things have to be good or bad, but in a sense of, if you're standing there and you're having an experience that kind of takes you out of yourself and you're having a good time, and it's just like you feel good, you feel free, you feel peace, you feel, then that to me is what you want to do, or for me at least that's what I want to do. So yeah, there's a joke name I made because so many people struggle with the name Amseth. I have no idea why. It's literally Amseth, like Amseth, but like people who have these weird pronunciations with it. And one of these guys called me Asmeth one time, and I was like, cool, that's my troll name now. So my troll name is Asmeth, and so whenever people ask me like, what's your name, I'll be like Asmeth, because it sounds like meth, and I'm just taking the piss. And because I'm a Star Wars fan, I've called myself now Darth Moose, the Millennial Sith.
That was beautiful, dude. Just a comment before I pass on to Meagan. Shout out to Shank, wherever you may be, dude. You're a legend.
Oh,
Shout out to your old manager as well. Shout out to your old manager wherever he may be. And yeah, dude, it's a brutal story, and it's one of the most beautiful answers I've ever heard. The way that you explained it, like it's music that you'd hear in like Hades. Man, shout out to you.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm glad you appreciate it. I'm glad I didn't sound crazy because I'm saying some controversial stuff, I feel like.
After collaborating with the likes of Doppler Shift and Among Us and Real Feels, when is the collab with Muzu coming? Because it needs to happen.
Wow, I'm literally going to send this podcast when it comes out to Dylan, and I'm going to be like, bro, the people are asking for it, bro. Like, so
Dylan, please.
Yeah. So Dylan and I are good friends because of the scene, obviously, and I've actually been to his house and stuff, and we've spoken about a collab, but we just haven't done it yet. I think we've just both been quite busy. But after this podcast, I'm gonna message him after this podcast, and I'm like, bro, they asked us, and then we'll try get a date and we'll start working on something. Because yeah, also since you mentioned Muzu, there's this guy called Cage as well. He is insane in terms of what he's doing sonically and idea-wise. So I would highly recommend, if just as a plug for people, because we're kind of doing similar stuff. Myself, Among Us, Cage, Muzu. So Muzu's more on the darker side. I would say he's doing more like roller revives, but like tech rollers, because it's very, I don't know how to describe it, dark and technical, different, cool, not your regular mill kind of stuff. So yeah, that should be coming soon. I've actually struggled, to be honest, with collabs because I use Ableton as my digital audio workstation. And when you export stems out of Ableton, it really does it in a way that is really confusing. Because like I use groups with my instrumentation and stuff. And so you'll have audio that's coming from the channel, and then you'll have audio coming from the group as well, and that can be very confusing. So I find it a lot easier to just actually sit with people. So all those collabs that I've released have all been collabs that I've actually sat down with the people and done the music, because it was just that much easier for me to do it that way than to actually just get stems from them. So if anyone knows a better way to collab, please let me and the community know, because that'd be great. And I don't know if I should just plug some other dudes quickly while we're here. I have a collab with a guy called Spinal. He's from Pretoria. No, he's from Joburg. I'm lying. He's from Joburg. He makes cool stuff, up and comer, cool producer as well. And I've got a collab with Debbie as well, who I mentioned earlier, Dakota. I've got also some more. So Among Us and I have like 4 songs that we're trying to get released. We're just busy with the final mixdowns now. That are really like, it just sounds really different, that we're trying to get out. So that's exciting. I'm keen for that. So there are some collabs coming, and I'll definitely get on the music one.
Sick, bro. We're almost out of time. Are you still pushing Chasm, or is there something new that that's sort of in the works and will be released? What's sort of like your main focus right now?
I have a free download that I am almost done with. It's a remix of this guy called Imanu, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I've been focusing on that for a long time. A lot of these songs have like 50 versions, so like 50 iterations, 50 bounces, because it just took me that long to get it right. There's this other song I'm working on now. So all the collabs that I mentioned, and then a bunch of like solo work that I'm all focusing on now. I have done a new mixdown on Chasm because it's such a special song for me. That was actually a breakup song, by the way. So I keep that to play in the clubs, but my focus is on now trying to make new stuff and kind of push the boundaries of what we're doing, you know.
No, that's awesome, dude. Thank you for spending this time with us. Let's get your handles now for anyone that's listening to this. Where can we sort of get a hold of you online?
Instagram is a good place because I'm always on Instagram. That will be at I am Amseth, so IAM and then Amseth again. SoundCloud will be a good place because my email's there as well if you want to get hold of me for like anything else. And that's just Amseth on SoundCloud. I am on Twitter and stuff as well. I am Amseth as well. If you want to come through there, get some thoughts.
Sweet, that is epic. And to you, the listener, thank you for tuning into this episode of myself, Meagan, and Amseth. We're going to be closing out with Bloom by Emmanuel. It's a remix that Amseth basically brought out. So please do enjoy it. For everything Sludge Underground, it's www.sludgeunderground.com. Get some merch, guys. Please do. It's one of the best ways you can support us. So do that. It's all on our website. Until next time, it is bye for now.